to the abdomen in that we want to make sure that the patient is straight before we do any positioning. With the femur, we have some wiggle room, we can move the leg back and forth, right? But when we're doing the pelvis, and it's the whole patient, you definitely want to make sure the patient is straight. So come to the foot of the bed or go to the head of the bed, right? Make sure that the patient looks straight. If they don't, a lot of times you can take the sheet, right? And then you can kind of like wiggle them back and forth, okay, until they do look straight, okay? If you need to, you can also grab the sides of the sheet and pull them over towards you. The biggest issue with that is when you do that, you risk rotating the patient as well. Okay, so be careful doing that. Make sure you don't accidentally add rotation where you don't intend to. Okay. With the pelvis, our goal is to center mid-pelvis. We do that by looking for that as-is. We're going to use the as-is a lot in this chapter. You find that as-is here, and you're going to go 2 inches distal to the as-is. If you cannot find the as-is, you do have some other options. Okay, so our goal is to go 2 inches distal to the as-is, but we can also go 2 inches proximal to the pubic symphysis. Okay, so pubic symphysis is going to be right here. You can technically palpate it, but you should not actually try to palpate it. Okay, I repeat, please do not try and palpate the pubic symphysis. However, there is something we can palpate that is at the same level as the pubic symphysis. And that is this bump right here on the side of the patient's leg. What is this bump out here? Greater trochanter. Good. So you can actually feel the patient, right? So you can feel as-is, you can feel pelvis, and then you have got some flesh, and then you can feel greater trochanter. Okay. So you find that greater trochanter, and that's going to be at the same level as the pubic symphysis. You go 2 inches proximal, and that should be the level of your centering. You find your as-is, you go 2 inches distal, and that should be the level of your centering. Does that make sense? Cool. Go ahead and turn on this collimator light. Careful. Careful, 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 careful. Okay. I'm going to go here. 2 inches distal to the as-is, 2 inches proximal to the pubic symphysis. Oh, I almost forgot. The pelvis, is it long or is it wide?
Wide.
It is wide. So don't be like me. Don't forget to take your cassette and flip it so that it is now landscape. Right? When you do flip it, make sure you change your leaves inside here. Okay, so, come on. Here we go. Okay, so 14, and then 14. There we go. Green strip towards the patient's right. And we lock in. So centered here, 2 inches distal to the as-is, 2 inches proximal to the pubic symphysis, and we are now landscape. So we're going to also center here MSP. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I don't lose my vertical alignment, and I'm just going to go MSP. You can check MSP by making sure that we look like we're straight down the center of the patient. You can also check MSP by patting down the sides, making sure we have the same amount of light on one side as the other. Okay so far? So we now have our centering, okay? Mid pelvis right here. Now we just need to adjust our legs. So what we will do is we will take these legs and we will spread them apart slightly. Okay? We will then ask the patient to turn their feet together and touch their toes. Turn their feet inward and touch their toes. Good, and our goal is to once again get that 15 to 20 degrees internal rotation on both legs. So take a look, check the rotation, make sure that they're both equal. Right, so here it looks like the right leg is turning more than the left. So we'll just make some slight adjustments. Okay, so now it looks a lot more even. Okay, and we've got that 15 to 20 degrees. So we're internally rotating these hips. Final thing, we have our marker. Okay, as you can see, especially on Daniel, we do not have much light on the table. So we will get out of pelvis, we're going to get the soft tissue, but it's going to be really hard to find room to put this marker. So where does this marker go? If you are the gambling type, you can open this up and put your marker here on the cassette in the top corner. Okay, because top corner, right, there's the iliac crest and you've got this corner of space here where there shouldn't be anatomy. So you can put your marker here. I don't like doing that because I am deathly afraid of my marker going inside and never coming back out. Okay, so that's why I say it's for the gambling types that are willing to take that risk. I, on the other hand, will take this marker and I'll actually tuck it underneath the patient in the shadow.